We're going to be demonstrating how we create edible art by painting our chocolate truffles. So it's kind of a fun demonstration to watch, and it's actually something that you can even do yourself. Chocolate is a little finicky as far as preparation and learning how to properly warm it so that you can work with it. I'll mention a few things about that in my demonstration, but mostly we're going to show you the fun of using colored cocoa butters. So this technique was, from what I understand, invented by a New York pastry chef called Norman Love, and he has, I don't know if he still has shops in New York. I think he's down in like Florida, Boca Raton maybe. So he's done well, apparently. He's living his best life. But there are many chocolatiers around the world now who use some of his techniques. It's kind of the modern trend in chocolate is to present these kind of beautiful, shiny, colorful works of art. So when this is kind of I like to say my third career. I wanted to learn how to get into chocolate, and so as my kids were kind of leaving home, going to college and getting out on their own, I wanted to know, what do I want to do next with my next year? So growing up, my mom worked in a chocolate shop in our little town, and it was kind of the social center of the community. I probably, if I went back there today, would still see people that I graduated high school with, and it was just where everybody went to get their gifts and everything. And so that just had like a nostalgia thing in my mind that if we could do chocolate in our town, it would serve the community. And so I researched how to get into chocolate, and I ended up enrolling in a school called École Chocolat. A lot of the presenters here have been through their program, and I didn't have any idea that this colorful chocolate was a thing at the time. So I'm just going to show you, if you haven't stopped by our booth yet, we have this is one of our holiday flavors. It's a peppermint stick fudge. You'll see that the chocolates are really colorful and shiny. And the first time I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have that in me. Like, I don't know if I can do that. So if I can do it, you can do it, is the point of the story here. I love this one. It's got some little dots on it. So there's different techniques that you can do with the cocoa butter to paint the chocolate. This one this is one of our most popular. It's got a little Christmas tree painted on it with some snow, a little star on top. So it's really fun. It is challenging. Sometimes you want to chuck it out the window. Because, yeah, I mean, if you mess up, it's chocolate. So we have a saying, there's no crying in chocolate. Like, it's fun. It's a nice, interesting pastime that you can work on. This one's really cool. It's got some black, silver, gold, red on it. So yeah, you feel free to look at those. But there's a couple different techniques we use. One is just what creates this marbling effect is we just finger swipe the mold. So when I say hand painted, every customer that comes in our store, we say we hand paint all these chocolates, and invariably I think what's going through their minds is we have these little gnomes in the back or Oompa Loompas that are paintbrushing on top of chocolate. It's actually a reverse order from what you think of. So the first thing we do is we paint in a mold. So the color is the first thing that happens. So we polish the mold. We're actually kind of warming up the cocoa butter that's been left in here. It all gets kind of rewarmed, reworked up when we polish. So we polish all the molds. There's a lot of steps to this. And then, I didn't get the cups out. Then we're going to start applying the cocoa butter. So this one we're going to do is similar to our peppermint stick fudge. So we start with whatever color we want to be on top. This one is just like a pearlescent. And so you can actually get these colored cocoa butters on Amazon. I just looked it up. I wasn't sure if you could. So you can get these yourself. What we use is from a company called Chef Rubber. There's also a company named Roxy and Rich that sells a lot of colored cocoa butters in the US. One of the things we look for in this product is the all-natural colorings, because a lot of people have allergies to some of the FD&C colors. So that's one thing to watch for. If you don't care that it has FD&C colors in it, then you can order whatever you want, but we'd like to stick with the all-natural colors that have like beet juice and other food-based products that color the cocoa butter. So that's what we use. So as far as I know, Chef Rubber is one of the few that has an all-natural line. So if that's something you're looking for, you might want to stick with them. So when you're melting your cocoa butter, you don't want to melt out all the solids. So I just take the whole bottle and put it in the microwave for maybe 45 seconds to a minute at first, because when you first get this, it's going to be rock solid. So you just want to kind of periodically pop it in the microwave a little bit until you can like squeeze the bottle and start shaking it. And then when you hear that there's some liquid in there, you kind of want to stop, because that will keep this in what's called in temper. With chocolate, that's one of the little quirky things about it, is that to work with it, it needs to stay in temper. Otherwise, it won't be shiny. It'll kind of be dull. If you've ever microwaved chocolate, have any of you ever like totally burnt chocolate in the microwave? Like it gets kind of like chunky and you can't work with it. It's like, what did I do? So the way to keep your chocolate in temper, even chocolate or cocoa butter, if you're microwaving it, is to just do it in short little zaps, stir it or shake it, whatever you can do to kind of just melt it, just over that melting line, and then it'll stay easier, good to work with. So that's what I've done with these. They're just kind of just melted out, and then, oops, this is the wrong mold. Then I just take a little bit on my finger and I just like do a swipe. And that's kind of what's going to show up on top. So this is kind of going to be a slow process. So I'm going to let those, if you want to finish that one, we'll need just a minute for those to kind of set up and dry. So I'm going to start on a second technique on this one. So we're also going to show you the steps of filling and bottoming your chocolate. So if you ever want to get a mold like this, just get these are called polycarbonate chocolate molds. You just want to get a hard one. There's a lot of like flexible ones, and I personally haven't used those a lot. This is mostly what chocolatiers use, are these harder molds. So we're going to show you. Yeah. So this one already has been colored and has the chocolate in it. It's hard to see because the mold is kind of keeping it matted, but we're going to show you each step of this one and hopefully be able to pop some out so you see how they come out of the mold. So this one is kind of a grainy looking technique. Let's see. So this one I do with a copper, the top of it is copper. This is our toasty hazelnut vegan truffle. So we're actually, we've got some vegan chocolate melting in here that we're going to use on it. And so that chocolate is made with coconut milk instead of dairy milk. There's coconut milk in it. So sometimes with this, I just dump a bunch of chocolate in the base and I kind of wait for it to set up a little bit, because what happens, chocolate, we're in a three-dimensional object here, and chocolate is just going to run wherever the bottom of, gravity is taking it. So sometimes you have to wait just a couple seconds. This room is actually the perfect temperature. It's kind of cool in here. If your room is getting towards like mid-70s, the chocolate might not set up very well. So the cooler your room, the better. So once it's had a couple seconds to start setting up, then I just take this pastry brush and I try to just create some swirls with this. And then it sets up and you can see those grainy lines in there. You can do this with a Q-tip, really any implement that you want to use to create some dimension to your design on your chocolate. So I just kind of keep working with it until it sets up a little bit. And then you also, so after this sets up, I'm going to back it with a navy blue, kind of a lighter navy blue. So you get those two different colors and both of them are kind of swirled around so it looks textured. I don't think we need all of those done, but maybe a few more. Okay, so then I'm back to our first one. So because this room is nice and cool, this pearlescent color has hardened up already, and that's what you want before you move on to your next color. So my next color is this funky red. It's kind of like a corally red. Oh, these are all brand new. And then I just fill in more of the space, basically. I do another swoop kind of on the side. So instead of going across the middle with this one, I kind of stay on the side with the red. We also use an airbrush to totally cover with one solid color of paint. We call it paint, it's cocoa butter. We use a splatter technique where we'll just take a pastry brush and I'll just dip some paint on the pastry brush and I'll just kind of splatter it across, and it just has a really cool, dotted color scheme to it. I think I can put some green on the other side of this one without messing up the red before it sets. Has anyone ever experimented with colored cocoa butter before? Or did you even know this was a thing before you came here? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So this funky green, I love this green. I'm just going to put a swoop of this on the other side. You'll see when we back all of this with the dark chocolate, the colors just really pop. Whoops, I dipped in the wrong color. That's good. Okay, so we've got our red and our green there, and the last color we do on this one is this bright blue. So that's setting up at the moment. Okay, the next one's going to be the blue. Does anybody have questions? Well, this can be kind of interactive if you have any questions. I'm sorry? Oh, these are just cotton pads. Yeah, so that's what I polish with. I polish the molds just with a cotton pad. Okay. That's still just slightly wet. I got these at Costco. They're nitrile gloves. So this is our vegan chocolate. We're going to fill some of these with, which is kind of fun to watch.
So what form do you buy your chocolate in?
We buy it in Calais, which are little circle dots. We do buy large quantities because we are making, a lot more quantity, but you can even buy Calais on Amazon as well. Callebaut is a very popular Belgian chocolate maker that you can get, let's say a 10-pound bag of chocolate, and you can kind of work with that over a bowl. But again, you would just need to be very gentle about melting it if you're not sure how to temper chocolate.
What's the company name again?
Callebaut, Callebaut. There's several presenters here as well that may have, bagged chocolate that you could purchase as well to experiment with. And you can use you could use little plastic cups to do this. We did a class last summer with kids, and they each made their own little truffle in a little plastic shot glass. And so they experimented with the paints. We, dipped the chocolate in. We did the next step, and they stuffed their little truffles with marshmallows and whatever other goodness they wanted in there, and we bottomed it and pulled it out. Thank you. I'm going to put the blue on. All right, I'm going to jump to the third color here. So this one needs a little more color in the middle. So I'm going to put this bright blue across the middle there. There's a rule of 3 in art. You want 3 things for people to focus on. It can be 2 colors and a texture or something like that. So if you're trying to create some artwork, remember that rule of 3. It could be shape, texture, and color. Those are just some things to keep in mind if you're taking your artwork very seriously. Okay, so I've got the blue, which is going to really pop on that dark chocolate. So we'll finish that if you want. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, awesome, Jory. Thank you so much. So she's got really nice swirls textured with the copper on this one, and I'm going to back it with the darker blue. I think I need another. Yeah, I need another little cup, but I don't. Did I use all the cups? We can put it in that one. Yeah. Thanks. So again, once this has set, you can start working with your second color. So I'm just going to, again, just kind of dump a puddle in the bottom of that. One problem, if you start your second color too soon and the first color isn't set, it's gonna mess up the first color, so you kind of have to wait for that first color to really set. The second one, because it's behind, you don't see the swirls quite as much on this one. Does anybody watch any chocolate shows on Netflix or anything like that?
I'm all for it. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I haven't, but I hear there's like some, a lot of people on there doing some like these.
They have a couple, the construction, there's a guy that makes all the huge.
Yes, I know. They are amazing.
Dog that he does, it's exquisite.
Yes. I'm always amazed by him. He is like a chocolate genius or like three-dimensional construction genius. I don't know how he does that stuff. It's really fascinating. All right.
You know when you have enough in there.
If it's puddling, you have too much.
Okay.
So I'm always just continuing to go over it. You can go over it until it kind of hardens up. If you have too much, it's just,
Can you tell though when you have like everything, every bit of it coated?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And even if it's not, some of that chocolate color peeking through, to me, that just is your brain saying, oh yeah, there's chocolate in there, One of the most common things we hear is, I don't think I can eat that, it looks too pretty to eat. So sometimes a little chocolate peeking through tells your brain, oh yeah, I can eat that. So this one has the blue backing the copper. So then I'm gonna fill, do you think these should be hopefully dry? I'm just gonna fill this side, or do you wanna do the blue first? Because I could,
Yeah, you want to talk on it?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yep. Oh, we got a busted one there. So I'm kind of gonna work out of order here. So I'll describe the steps. So after your color is in the mold, then you're gonna pour your melted chocolate in and dump out the excess. I'll demonstrate that. You're gonna let that chocolate set and firm up a little bit. You can pop it in your refrigerator just for a few minutes after it starts to set. And then it's going to come out like this, all set up. I'll do the filling next because then we'll be more in order.
So will the liquid chocolate like set back up like how you received it?
Except it'll be, because it's in this polycarbonate mold, it'll be real shiny. A lot of times chocolate, when you get it, it's kind of dusty looking. That's still tempered chocolate, but because we're in this nice smooth mold, that is what is going to give the chocolate the shine. And adding the cocoa butter as well gives it even more shine.
do you have to do anything when you have a new mold to make them?
There's no seasoning
Okay.
of it or anything like that, yeah. So this is, the copper and blue truffle that we're making is our toasty hazelnut. So this is a hazelnut praline. A praline is caramelized hazelnuts. So imagine hazelnuts cooked in yummy, ooey gooey melted sugar. And then we pour that out and let it harden up, and then we grind it way down until it forms like a paste, a butter. That's what a praline is. So in Europe, if you ever get the chance to go, this is what you want to try. You want to try a praline, okay? Just take my advice. That's what you want to try. This is mixed with some of the vegan chocolate, so that makes the hazelnut praline filling. And ours just happens to be vegan. We do have, like I said, this is a coconut milk vegan chocolate. So I've just got this in a piping bag, and I'm just going to fill these shells. And I just want a little bit of enough room left at the top so that my bottom shell is kind of the same thickness as the walls of the truffle. You guys are getting the full class here. You didn't know you were in for all this.
How do you decide the color scheme pattern for?
Good question. I try to give a nod to whatever flavor is inside so that your brain is thinking of that food. Like the peppermint stick fudge, I wanted it to have like candy cane like colors and Christmassy colors. Like the pomegranate pistachio, the red it's like a pinkish red, so that kind of reminded me of pomegranate. I try to go with the actual food color. But sometimes like with the toasty hazelnut, I can do whatever I want, right? I mean, I could make it like a nut color, so that's why I kind of went with the copper. But there's some, that we can go crazy with, and we do.
Like the gingerbread?
Yes, like the gingerbread, we went crazy with that one.
So do you have production, I mean, you're obviously traveling, you're here selling. Do you have production days? How much do you produce at a time?
Yeah, we do. Right now, we're doing like 200 to 250 at a time. So, like, that's about maybe 12 of these molds at a time that we're producing. The painting takes, as you can see, is a little bit more tedious part of the process.
This time's 12.
Yeah, and sometimes the techniques are slower than others. All these dots for the sugar cookie dough take a lot of time, so.
But you're creating your own fillings too.
Yep, we're doing, oops, I missed. We're doing the fillings. We're doing all of it. The only thing we don't do is make the actual chocolate. We buy purchased chocolate. So a lot of the presenters here are craft chocolate makers. Some of them are cacao growers. We just buy their chocolate and we work with it. So one of our values is we buy chocolate that is made at origin. We kind of feel that if you look at where chocolate has historically mostly been made in the world, it's made in developing countries or developed countries, the United States, Europe, Japan, but it's grown, the cacao bean is grown 20 degrees north and south of the equator. Those are developing countries that, don't have as much economically as developed countries. So we just feel that if a country grows the beans and they can make the chocolate there, they're going to keep more of the profits for their local economy. That in turn, that money goes to educating the farmers to grow better beans. And we've seen a lot of that happening with some of the companies that we source from. So that's just something we do. We buy chocolate from Ecuador and Colombia so that those farmers benefit more from the purchase of the chocolate.
So are you varying the types of chocolate? I mean, what percentages are you using?
Yep, yeah. Of course, milk chocolate is the most popular. As chocolatiers, we love dark chocolate, so that's kind of our preference. But we also use white chocolate, and we use it all. The darks, for the shelling, we use around 60% dark. In our part of the country, that's kind of as dark as people want to go, typically, unless they really, are into chocolate and into some of the darks. So 60% is kind of a good happy medium for our customers. Oh yeah, do you want to do that? So she's going to put the bottom on this. So she's doing the next step after filling. So this filling that I just piped in will take, we like to let them set overnight for the fillings. Some things you want to avoid with the fillings, they need to be kind of not too hot. If you put a filling in here that is more than 85 degrees, it's going to melt your shell. So you don't want to do that. So just make sure it's 85. Do you have a question? Yes. We have a Mexican hot cocoa truffle over there in our case right now. And we also brought a bar called Spicy Mala, which is, I think it's an Indonesian dish. So it's a bar of chocolate that has it's got a lot of stuff in it, but a little bit of spicy kick with some red pepper in it. Thank you. Okay, so she bottomed these. I'm not sure if these will totally set up in time to pop out of here because chocolate is slow. But maybe, do you want to set this in the back? Because I think it's colder back there, and then maybe we can get some of those out before we're done.
So how did you get into making art with chocolate instead of just doing like actual art?
So when I enrolled in the chocolate school, this was being taught. And I wasn't sure I could do it. Like, I think when I started kind of sharing my story, I mentioned I was a little overwhelmed and thinking, is this what I want to do? But I just thought it was so cool. And I started making different things. But all that people were gravitating towards was the colorful stuff. So we make barks and we make some other things, but people are just so engaged with the artistry in the chocolate that this has become our pretty much main product line.
So where is the chocolate school?
École Chocolat is online, and it was started by a woman, I believe, out of Vancouver, Canada, and she has had for her whole career a chocolate shop. She's spent her whole lifetime kind of perfecting these techniques, and she's very well known in the fine chocolate industry now. So she kind of packed up all her knowledge into this course, and it's, I'm trying to remember how long it was. I want to say it was like maybe 4 to 6 months, something like that. But it's basically you learn the science, which is all chemistry. You learn the history of chocolate. You learn the techniques of making the chocolate. So right now I've filled this shell that we've got the colored cocoa butter in. It's remelting that cocoa butter right now, and that's adhering to the chocolate in here. So I'm going to dump this chocolate out after I get the spoon out of the way. I forgot to bring any spatulas.
I noticed that.
It's hard to do a traveling chocolate show.
And the point of shaking it and tapping it is to get the air bubbles to come up to the top, so you don't have sort of a hole then, is what's that?
Yeah, there's a lot of bubbles on top of here right now. So I'm going to dump all this out, which is so fun to watch, isn't it? It's like soothing to watch chocolate. And I'm going to tap it to try to get the most of the chocolate out that I can.
Do you ever lose them when you flip it over like that?
Do I lose them?
Yeah, like do any ever fall out?
Not right now like this, because basically, there's nothing else in here besides the liquid. When we bottom, she bottomed that last set. If we had flipped that over with them already filled and stuff, some of them could have fallen out. So when you bottom, you're just keeping the mold upright and just scraping the chocolate off. So it's a mess right now, so I just scrape it to get some of that extra chocolate off. So I'm cleaning up the mold. You can clean up the sides. Chocolate's messy though, so just prepare yourself. You're going to be wearing it. Sometimes if your chocolate's a little cooler and it's thicker, you know, your shell is going to be thicker. So getting kind of that feel for what temperature you want so that it's not super thick. There's still a little bit wanting to drip out of there, so I'm going to scrape it again. And then I just kind of check the thickness of the shells, and I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm just going to be done with that. So now that set is kind of where the one that we just filled is. We're doing the steps all out of order.
If you didn't like the thickness of the shell, what would you do?
You can try to keep vibrating it, tapping it to get more of the chocolate out. If it's setting up fast and it's still pretty thick, there's not a ton I would recommend. You could take a heat gun to it a little bit, but you might knock your chocolate out of temper.
Right.
So if you can work quickly and have, you know, your chocolate at the right temperature, that is most of the game of doing this. So I'm going to do this one. This one is really fun to see when the dark goes in because the colors really come out. Thanks. So you need kind of more chocolate, right, to fill up the whole mold than what you're, you know, end up actually using. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's another scraper over here too. It's not a huge investment to kind of get what you need for chocolate. Like you need a good scraper, you need a couple of these molds and some cocoa butter. And I mean, you can just have some fun. I know there's a lot of people that just kind of get into it and end up making all their family holiday gifts, you know, with their favorite recipes. There's a lot of Facebook groups that have chocolatiers that will give advice and things. So if you are intrigued, you can fill your time with all kinds of information. Yeah, it can steal your time, for sure. This mold's a little bit larger, so we've got two different sizes. This is the sugar cookie dough is our medium truffle. The rest of them are our larger truffle, so this is the larger one. The hazelnut that we did was the medium-sized truffle.
What was in your filling again?
For this one,
How'd you make the filling that you?
the hazelnut, that was the one where we caramelized the hazelnuts. And then we ground that caramelized nut down into a paste.
Okay.
You can do that in a food processor. It'll be a little bit grainy. It's not going to be like Nutella smooth, you know, or anything like that. But I kind of like that graininess. It gives it a little more something to kind of crunch on a little bit.
And you mix that with chocolate.
With chocolate, yep. That's what a praline is, yep. Oops, I'm flicking chocolate. This room may never be the same. We'll try to clean up after ourselves. So this one has a nice thin shell. You probably can't see it. Probably just looks like dark chocolate. Yeah. Yeah, so if we had a refrigerator here, I would pop these in the refrigerator and we could even pull out the shell to show you if I'm thinking they're probably not gonna set up in time. But yeah, we could put them outside. Maybe the one in the back, do you think we can get any of those out? If the bottom is solid? Does anybody have questions so far?
Do you come up with your own recipes? Or
Yes, yeah, when I first started, I did some really far out things. I've always been a experimenter when it comes to, yeah. When it comes to food, I like to experiment with food, and so I kind of create my own recipes, but then because I'm actually selling them, if nobody buys them, it's kind of a bummer. So a lot of the things we have now are very mainstream, I guess, for lack of, I can't go too crazy. So we have like our white mint Oreo, because most people like mint and Oreo. Our best seller is a caramel cashew with sea salt. Caramel is like the #1, actually in front of peanut butter, #1 pairing with chocolate, in the US anyway. Our peanut butters are very popular. We're in Columbus, so we have a Buckeye. Of course, we have to have a Buckeye. I'm trying to think what the other, and then we have like a holiday line. Like this is our cherry cheesecake. I already mentioned the peppermint stick fudge, the pomegranate pistachio. So we just try to we do a lot of dessert inspired things, like the Christmas tree is based on, if you've ever seen it's kind of like a pumpkin roll, but it's chocolate. It's called a bûche de Noël. It's a Yule log cake. That's what that is inspired by. So we've got a little bit of marshmallow in there, some chocolate cake, and then a milk chocolate ganache. So it's just creamy and cakey and good. It's like a Swiss cake roll.
And are all your fillings as thin as the one was that you put in there?
The shells?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the filling.
Oh, the filling, no. Some of them, for example, this one, the way we painted this one, this is our brookie, and we just make a cookie dough and a brownie, and we fill the top half with cookie dough, and the bottom half we're pressing in brownie, which isn't a traditional truffle. Truffles usually have a runny filling that fills them, and it firms up. So some of ours, like the brookie, is more like a filled cake pop in a way. That probably wouldn't, in Europe, really pass as a truffle.
Right.
But here it does, because we love, brownies and cookie dough.
So how do you sell yours? I mean, do you have outlets? Do you have online?
We do both. So we have our storefront in Columbus. The name of our business is Lohcally Artisan Chocolate, spelled with the OH. Locally, just spelled with the OH for Ohio. And the website is just lohcally.com. We ship our chocolates all over the country, so it's a fun gift if you want to ship a gift to someone. We do that. We pack everything with ice packs and insulation. Looks like it wasn't in temper.
No,
Yeah.
that's hard.
I'm going to try to get these out, but I'm not sure it's going to work. Yeah. This is where we get our violins out. There, yeah.
Oh, think about that.
Oh, yay, some of them came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually
okay.
more of them come out.
So these are, see how shiny they are? It makes me so happy when they're shiny. And people love the shine. It's crazy how, even though the color is really interesting, the shine really draws people in. So Do you think we can get, no, they don't
I
look
don't-
like
I'm
they're
afraid they're
released.
gonna-
Yeah,
I could get them out, but I'm afraid they're gonna go all over the place.
yeah, yeah. I wish we had enough to, maybe on the wood, yeah. Don't, we might mark the table though.
If they fly, I'll catch them. I'll eat it.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it usually takes some time in the refrigerator for the mold. You'll be able to tell that they'll releasing. It's like, let me hold this up for a sec. So these are still, I can tell they're just stuck in there because I can still see the color. When they're released, you'll see like it'll be a lot lighter because you can see they've pulled away from the mold. So like here, if I put this guy back in there, see how it looks like you can see that that one's released. Then they're ready to flip and try to get out of the mold. So there is that. So I think that's all the steps and all we can show you about this process. But if anybody has any more questions, we're happy to answer. I hope you learned some fun things about chocolate while you were here.
So are they just shrinking as they cool? And then
Yeah. Yep.
Pulling away from that polycarbonate, yeah.
But the shells don't do that, or you don't allow them enough time to do that?
They can, yeah. If we like wait overnight and then the next day we do the fillings, sometimes those shells have pulled away, but that's fine because we're not turning them upside down anymore. The only time we turn it upside down is to dump that original pour of chocolate out.
What's
Yeah.
the shelf life?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So shelf life with a truffle, the cool thing about it is, there's no air getting in there if it's, you've got a completely encapsulated chocolate shell. Depending on the filling, you could have 3-month shelf life. I mean, if it's caramel, you could have 6-month shelf life. That's where your schooling, you kind of need to do some research on your fillings. If you're trying to make something that you want it to last a really long time, I would say you need to do your homework on how long that filling is good in the truffle. Ours, if they're refrigerated, will last 2 to 3 months. We tell people if you're going to keep it at room temperature, you should eat it within 2 to 3 weeks. Just because it's a fresh truffle, it doesn't have all the preservatives and things in it that maybe a grocery store truffle would have in it.
So the ones I just bought for Christmas stockings, I'll be giving them to them.
Yeah,
Stale.
so
Put them in the fridge.
I would say keep them in the refrigerator.
Okay,
Yeah, until then, and they'll be great.
okay.
Yeah, refrigeration will preserve the freshness of them. So, well, thank you all very much for your attendance.